spotted.
Alright everybody, welcome back. So fresh on the heels of my F-16C video, I figure it's time to take a look at the new Russian top tier, and yes, I did say Russian. This is actually a mid-2000s era aircraft as well, so no longer Soviet. In any case though, this is the new Soviet top tier aircraft. Just like the F-16C, it's more of a multi-role, and I will be covering the CAS later on in the video, but for now let's talk about ARB purposes. And to be honest, the only thing that really sets this thing apart is the missiles. This is one of those things where you could probably call it a missile bus and get away with it, even though I hate saying that. The huge, massive upgrade is the R-73s, and I'll be talking about those here in a little bit, but for now, the flight performance. It's really not all there. It has the same engines as the earlier MiG-29 while having a lot of extra weight. It also can't pull nearly as hard. Like you can see, I'm maxing out at 11, maybe 12 Gs right here. And the previous ones, you were hitting 14, sometimes 15 Gs. So already right off the bat, you can see that. This thing, honestly, I've heard from pretty reliable sources that it loses in a dogfight to the F4E, if that tells you just how much heavier it is. Now, to be honest, most of the time, that's not really going to impact you too much because it is still pretty fast. It's slightly slower than the earlier MiG-29s because it has all that extra drag. But most of the time, you're able to just go and beam in and out of the fight, lob off your missiles, and then get back out again. The problem is when you're not able to do that. This thing is going to lose in a dogfight to pretty much every top-tier jet. You can probably sit on the 6 of somebody if you get on their 6, just because it does still pull some decent AOA. The problem is, if someone starts on your 6 or you're trying to get there in the first place, you're going to have a pretty hard time. To be honest, I still like the way this thing handles for ARB a little bit more than the F-16C, just because it's not as mushy at the higher speeds and doesn't compress nearly as much, but I'm specifically saying that for ARB where it's important to be able to get your nose around. If you're in a 1v1 against an F-16C, it will rip you to shreds. And that's not even the F-16As, which are all much better than the F-16C now in flight performance. And of course, if you run up against another MiG-29, or honestly, even probably the F-14s would probably beat this thing in a dogfight. I'd wager that they would. That's not to say it can't win a dogfight, of course. I mean, a lot of players aren't the best. Like you can see this F-16A player right here. If I hadn't whiffed the shot or he flew through, I'm not 100% sure what exactly happened right there, but he should have been dead right there. And I am also about to whiff my shots terribly here in a second, so please excuse my horrible aim. I was trying to test out the gun sight thing to see if it's any different this patch, and I just whiffed almost all of my shots. I do manage to get the kill, but it was honestly quite terrible. Now, the big feature of this aircraft is the R-73, and boy oh boy, it is nuts. Like, actually insane. This missile is, without a doubt, in my opinion, the top missile at top tier now. Just purely because of its absolutely absurd flare resistance. So, the AIM-9M and the R-73 use different types of IRCCM. So the AIM-9M is much worse when it comes to defeating maneuvering targets that are flaring at the same time. So if you've seen my video on the F-16C, you already know how it works. If not, I'll explain it again one more time just to make sure. What the R-73 does is it shrinks its secret head field of view down to 0.75, which is why it could hit that F-16C in the head-on while it was flaring, which is absolutely bonkers, by the way. Because it simply does not see the flares. It's too close. All it can see in its secret head is the F-16. Now, what the AIM-9M does is whenever it sees flares, it turns itself off and goes on inertial navigation. So if you have someone that's flying on a predictable path, you know, for example, in a straight line, even side aspect, for example, right, it's not going to have any issues. It's just going to turn itself off and pick the plane back up again. The problem with the AIM-9M is that if you have someone that knows what they're doing, all they have to do is pop flares once and then turn, and the missile is going to miss every single time. I actually did the beginning of the video if you want to rewind and check that out. Harrier launches an AIM-9M at me, I pop flares and then turn, and it misses easily, because you're already out of the seeker head by that point. But the R-73 simply does not see the flares, and just like with this MLD right here, it's too late. He can't flare the missiles, too close. Honestly, I'm much more scared of the R-73 whenever I'm fighting one than I am of the AIM-9M, because if someone decides to run you down in the MiG-29, and they can, because as far as I'm aware, it's still the fastest plane on the deck in the game, all you have to do is just get within like 1.5 kilometers, and you're pretty much not going to be able to flare it. Pre-flaring does still work against it, because you're flaring it before the field of view shrinks, but this is part of the reason why I'm not worried about the flight performance. You can just fire it from within about 1 kilometer or so, and They just can't flare it, even front or side aspect. You can see right here, it does thrust vectoring things, easily kills him, and even though he would have won the dogfight, I get the kill. Same thing right here. I see someone behind me, 1.8 kilometers away. You cannot flare normally. You would have to go full side aspect and then flare, and I wasn't able to in this case. So, you do also get access to the R-27ET, and to be honest, I'd probably still run the ER if you were going to run a longer range missile, but this thing is very funny. 35 Gs, very long range, and it does have really good flare resistance as well. It is technically better rear aspect than the R-73 is, but a little bit worse at close range because it does have a bigger gate width value, as you see right there. Finally, we get on to CAS, and this thing is pretty okay at it. It's not amazing, to be honest. The MiG-29K, I would say, is still a better CAS aircraft than this thing is. It gets access to some new weapons. You can see right there, I was just using the KH-29TD, and these are extended range versions of the KH-29 with a theoretical maximum range of 30 kilometers, which sounds amazing on paper. They do also have a massive warhead, as you can see right there, where I got 2 kills. You can bring these on the center pylons and guided bombs on the middle pylons. The outer ones can only be used for air-to-air missiles, which does still allow you to easily take care of any, anti-aircraft duties you need to do in the battle. So, the only problem with these KH-29TDs is that, sure, they have 30 kilometers theoretical max range, but what they do is they actually turn on their seeker head when they get to around 6 kilometers from the target. So in the meantime, if someone drives out of it, just like this tank did right here, you can see it's just not going to track and it's just going to hit the ground instead. It does get extended range versions of the KAB 500s as well, which is what I'm using right here. These are excellent guided bombs, some of the best in the game. They're going to serve you very well. They may be the best guided bombs in the game. I'm not too familiar with that. To be honest, though, even though these are still very good, I would just still go the route of using the KH-25MLs on the MiG-27K because TV guided stuff is just not as reliable as being able to aim it yourself. So it'd be nice if we got a MiG-29 that had a laser detonator, just like the MiG-27K, but in the meantime, of course, we get this thing, and you are still able to absolutely dunk on any aircraft, just like this F-14 right here. I'm going to fire my R-73, and would you look at that? He doesn't get to flare it. Side aspect. I feel so bad for him. What the KH-29s do allow you to do is to absolutely outrange any SAMs, because SAMs typically are just going to sit in one spot, right? And so you can just lock onto them and fire from very far away, and they're most likely not going to move. It's not like a normal tank that's going to charge into the battlefield. You get a ton of ML, just sit there and wait. So it's perfect for taking them out. Overall, though, I'd say this is more of a side grade of the normal MiG-29, which of course has better missiles and a better radar, and better CAS options, but it has much worse flight performance that really just doesn't make it as fun to play. In any case, though, hope y'all enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll catch y'all next time. So, peace, y'all.